Everyone, in this video we are starting up with PHP introduction. PHP is a server-side programming language. Now what I mean when I say server-side programming language? A code which is run on server but the result of which is displayed on a client browser. Suppose if you go and type google.com, so there are several codes which Google runs on server which you don't have to know, but you find the result in your own browser. So you are a client to the Google server. So we are going to learn how does this happen. But before that, an introduction to the language is required and at utmost. So we'll see what PHP is all about. So PHP, which is called hypertext preprocessor, is an open source scripting language that can run on server side, and it is also free to use and supports different databases such as JSON, NoSQL, SQL, PostgreSQL, DB engines, etc. It is familiar to language C. So if you know how to program in C language or C++ or any of the programming languages which you know, then it would be easier for you to understand PHP, which is hypertext preprocessor. And why do we use PHP instead of any other language as a script which can run on server? Is because it's free to use and it has a wide and vast compatibility. So just to give you a glimpse, the biggest social network giant, which is Facebook, is built using PHP. So it is that powerful to handle an entire social networking site. And not only Facebook, there are other websites built with PHP as well, out of which we have found the blogging website WordPress is also built on PHP, which delivers powerful web services for the regular and the business users. So what is a PHP file? So when we are learning a PHP, we must know what is a PHP file. So PHP files can contain HTML, which is hypertext markup language, the code to design a web page, CSS, which is a style sheet language for a web to design and give colors, add beautiful elements, and to add certain properties to the HTML tags. JavaScript to program as like PHP, but that is run on the browser itself, and the PHP code finally. PHP is executed on the server and the result is displayed in the browser as plain HTML. So whatever code which we run on the server using PHP is the result of which is displayed on the browser as HTML but not as PHP. So the user or anybody who is accessing the result will not be able to know what is the code all about. And PHP files have extension of .php. So suppose if you are creating a file called my file, so it would if it's a PHP file, it would be saved as myfile.php. So we will also learn what can PHP do. So PHP can generate dynamic page content. PHP can create, open, read, write, delete and close files on the server. So when we talk about dynamic page content, you must have come across certain website where you find the pictures or the contents being changed every interval. Suppose if you are logged on to Facebook and you are reading the news feed, you'll find that as soon as someone or some of your friends post a video or a picture or anything, that appears on the top automatically without even refreshing the page. So that is what we call dynamic page content. And you might also see that there are some websites, a news website, where you go and you can see the news keeps on updating itself and you don't have to keep on changing the pages every time. So this is what our dynamic page content is all about. So what they do, they update the files or the content on the server and that is automatically fetched by the browser when you go to the website. So you don't have to create multiple pages for a single content. and it can also create, open, read, write, delete, and close files on the server. So you can also perform server tasks from the browser itself using the PHP commands. PHP can collect form data as a registration form or sign up form or a login form. Any form data can be collected using the PHP language. PHP can send and receive cookies. So if you are logged into the Facebook, and if you go to facebook.com second time without logging out on the previous session, you would find that you are automatically logged in. Now how does that happen? That happens through sessions and cookies, which we will cover in detail. PHP can add, delete, modify data in your database. That is correct. We can add a user, we can delete a user, we can modify the access of a user in the database, or we can add any content in a database, or we can also delete or modify the content. PHP can be used to control user access. PHP can encrypt data. So PHP has different algorithms such as MH5, MD5, SSL, which can encrypt the data while sending it to the database or while accessing it through the database, so the hackers will not have knowledge what the data is all about. With PHP, you are not limited to output HTML. You can output images, PDF files, and even Flash movies. You can also output any text such as HTML and XML. We'll cover this in detail in the upcoming videos as we progress through PHP. So now we'll learn why do we learn PHP and not any other languages which has several operations as such. So the first is PHP runs on various platforms: Windows, Linux, Unix, Mac, etc. So any platform which is built for computing or mobile environment, PHP can successfully be integrated and run on those platforms. PHP is compatible with almost all servers used today. So servers like Apache, Cordova, IIS by Microsoft, or there are other servers as Amazon Web Services, they all support PHP. PHP supports a wide range of databases. As I have said in the introduction, PHP has a wide range of databases which it supports. You can check it in the PHP manual on php.net website. And the biggest thing is PHP is free to use. You can download it from the official PHP resource, which is php.net. PHP is easy to learn and runs efficiently on the server side. So there is no lagging between the server and the resultant on the client end. What do I need to run PHP? So that's a great question. So running a PHP requires a host with a PHP support and to set up the PHP on your own PC. If your server has activated support for PHP, you do not need to do anything. Just create some .php files, place them in your web directory, and the server will automatically parse them for you. You do not need to compile anything or install any extra tools. Because PHP is free, most web hosts offer PHP support. So this may be one of the factors why the people uses PHP, because it has got wide range of hosting support as well. So if you have got a host who supports PHP, you do not need to do anything. You do not need to install any of the software. And the second way is to set up PHP on your own PC. However, if your server does not support PHP, you can install a web server as IIS, Apache, or there are others like XAMPP, MAMP, WAMP. You can install the PHP from php.net. You can install a database such as mysql, which is again free to use and has got all the functionality of a SQL server. And you can find all these applications in official PHP website, which is php.net. And you can also find the manuals for the instruction and the installation. But however, we will be guiding you through our next video. So we'll cover the few syntax of PHP to know how does it looks like. So first of all, as we have already known, PHP is run on server and result is sent back to the browser as a plain HTML. So the user is not known what exactly the code is which is running on the server. A PHP script can be placed anywhere in the document. A PHP script starts with